Welcome back to Common Sense Podcast Radio. I'm Robert Slavinsky, and with me today is Farside's Brian Keppel. Before we get into anything, real quick, I want to make sure that everyone's aware out there that Monday will be the debut episode of our newest show, The Remote Control, where we cover all things entertainment. I also want to mention that we also have a new episode of Farside out right now, where Brian and I discuss the Hollow Earth Theory, the Flat Earth Theory, and the Hypercube. But tonight
not the beloved growing Earth. We know how everybody loves the growing Earth theory.
Well, tonight though, we're going to just sit here and bullshit about some of the current events that are going on. This past week was pretty hectic.
Yes, this past week was like, man, definitely a hot summer in the city.
To say the least. It all started off with 4th of July on this past Monday. Everybody was having a good time, enjoying themselves, and then Tuesday morning, the bombshell fell, where Hillary Clinton was pretty much cleared by the FBI. And
I don't know if she was cleared. I think there's a lot of stuff going on. If you pay attention to what with the head of the FBI, Comey, he basically said that they were looking to see if she intentionally did stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's you gotta pay attention to the language that they're using.
But that's the problem. I mean, it went from she should have been indicted on this week, or the process should have began this week, to now it's going to be pushed further along, where we're probably going to get into, if she were to be elected president, it would be during her first or second term, where anything could probably happen. So
yeah, if she gets in, if she becomes our next president, and just expect more of this civil unrest, more of this I guess race baiting and all this class division, more hate,
I don't see the correlation between Hillary and all that. I do, however, see the correlation between our current president and all of that, where he just refuses to acknowledge the real issues going on and refusing to support, who he should be supporting. But that's besides the point, I guess, when it comes to Hillary.
I mean, I only say that because you look at the past Clinton presidency, and you have, like, the LA riots, and all the riots that happen around the country. And, I mean, it's pretty much the same political environment again. It's been engineered by the media. It's drawing some correlations here,
Yeah. I can see that. I think probably the scariest part about anything, if Hillary is to become the next president, is her incompetence, her unwillingness to, one, take responsibility for her actions, and two...
It's like... Keep going.
And two, just again, just her inability to show leadership. She's shown no leadership in the past, and even as her time as Secretary of State, we see how poorly she did at that time. I mean, why does anybody think that she can then jump into the presidency and do that job is beyond me. Now, again, I know people will jump on me or say, well, Donald Trump can't do it. What has he ever done to prove that he could be president? Well, in a way, you have a point if you're asking me that. But we've already seen what Hillary can and can't do, and we've seen that she cannot do it. Whereas Trump, I mean, granted, yes, he doesn't have much of a political background, but...
He can at least handle his emails.
Exactly.
Jesus. I don't know. Hillary Clinton, she's so corrupt. just look at what she did with the State Department. You look at Libya, you look at Syria. If you want to do the research, I mean, you can really dig into it. I mean, just go and Google it and just look at her involvement with the creation of ISIS and just the handling of Iraq, pulling out of Iraq. Obama is the president. He does share the blame here, but she's just as at much fault as him. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. One of our biggest allies in the Middle East, Israel, has that relationship has completely fallen apart in the past 8 years. It's a relationship that should be stronger than it is, and it's not. And whether you want to blame Obama or Hillary, or even the current Secretary of State, who is John Kerry, if I'm not mistaken, it's just a mess. I mean, it's a complete mess of what they've done when it comes to our foreign relations, and that is probably one of the most important things that we're going to have to move forward with in our country. For one, because we have to make sure that we're not only shoring up our borders and shoring up our country, but that our relationship outside of our country with the other, countries is on good terms. We don't want things to be bad, and Hillary will just make it worse than it is now.
You think the poor relationship with Israel has something to do with Obama being a Muslim?
I mean, it's a possibility. I just think it's how...
it's past the point where you can't really even doubt it anymore that he's a Muslim.
Well, who was it? Was it Bill O'Reilly or Hannity? One of those Fox News.
It was Bill O'Reilly. He dropped that bombshell with the pictures.
Yeah, the pictures a couple days ago where, Obama's in full Muslim garb. If that's how you want to call it, if that's what you want to call it, Muslim garb. It's...
Yeah, I don't know what the actual name is and all that, but I really don't even care at this point. I think being politically correct has disarmed the political narrative, really stripped away any kind of ability to push back, because you're always trying to find some word and to match the right way to say something, and then they move the goalposts up with the new outrage. What are we outraged about this week? Okay, we adjust. Bang, they're outraged about something new. It's like, you know what? Enough. We're gonna nail this down. We're gonna nail down what the problem is, and we're gonna deal with it, and we're gonna talk about it that in a way that is effective, and in us dealing with it. And you know what? We're gonna get it done. We're not gonna just sit here and be held hostage by outrage politics.
Yeah, we can't sit here and allow... We are, but we shouldn't be sitting here allowing, all this political correctness to overtake our lives. I think it's a bigger problem by following along with it than not being politically correct in many instances. And it is making matters worse because, people go from something as simple as, and no offense to anybody out there, but a simple example is going from calling somebody a black person to, well, the correct way to say it is African American, and it somehow escalates from there to, having crazy, outrageous protests that just they shouldn't be happening at all, with Black Lives Matter. They just have taken it so far. And I think that's a problem because people feel that, we need to be politically correct. People need to respect everybody. We're entitled to everything, and that's the problem. It's the entitlement. I had to talk myself into what I was trying to say there, if you didn't notice.
It's cool. It's cool. I just think we've allowed the hashtag war to get out of control, and now it's taken on a life of its own. And I mean, it's like one of those major brands in identity politics, you know. And then you have a presidential contender like Bernie Sanders that went and legitimized this quote-unquote movement. And then you've seen how he went and just sliced everybody up. And, you know, before we were pretty much perfectly unified. You know, there was still some bullshit happening. But, you know, like, everybody, all walks of life, were embracing, like, you know, like hip-hop, checking out all the new foods, or not new foods, but like there's different cultures and stuff. And everybody's open to it, and everybody's just accepting of stuff. And I sing out hip hop and everything because you know it's obvious that there's a lot of racial tension right now with the black community. You don't see that with everybody else. You don't see that with the Asians. You don't see that with the Indians. You don't see that with like the Mexicans or like the Latinos. Even though I mean they probably have just as much right to be outraged as the black community, but they're not going and acting on that because they know that it makes them look bad. But the black community, I don't know what it is. They think that violence can solve this problem, and it's not true.
Is it really the entire community? I can't sit here and agree with that.
No, not all blacks. No, of course not.
And yeah, okay, and you know,
but you see it everywhere. I mean, you see it on the web, you see it on the street. You grew up with it. It's like everything is being held hostage because blacks are angry.
Yeah. Oh.
And it's like it's beyond the point where it's like, you know what? Nobody is even affected by this outrage anymore. It's like our society has become immune to the black outrage, and it's just like they gotta keep ramping it up. It's like it's like a drug addict, and their tolerance keeps going up, so it's got to become this bolder and bolder thing. You know, even the Black Panthers have gone under transformation. They come out with the new Black Panther Party, where it's not just political. It's you know, a militant. It's like a domestic terrorist group. It's getting worse and worse, and you know, the blacks are just going to have to get together and say, you know, enough of this black identity in American politics. We have to join the community. You know, we've done enough outreach to the black community. I think it's time for them to step up to the plate and say, you know what, we're a part of this community too, and it's not just a black problem.
Yeah, I agree. And you've seen that there have been quite a few outspoken African Americans out there who have said, you know, look, you know, in relation to the Black Lives Matter movement, you know, there's African Americans who are sitting there saying, no, all lives matter. It's not about black lives. You know, we have to focus on everybody. And then there's people who get outraged at that. They're saying, "Oh, by saying all lives matter." They said
all lives matter is a racial slur. How ridiculous is that?
Exactly. They're basically sitting there saying, like, "Oh, if you're going to change, you know, BLM to ALM, then you're against black people," and that's not the case at all. And that's, I think, a big problem with how everybody wants to view what's going on in the world. You know, it's just entitlement. Everybody feels that they should be entitled to more than what they actually have, and it's just enough is enough. Work for what you want.
It's like the socialism thing that everybody's pushing for. And it's not that they're not getting the things that they need. It's they're not getting the things that they want.
No, exactly.
They want more luxuries. Is what it is.
Exactly. and you have to work for it, and it's unfortunate. I understand how there are many people out there that view the black community as lesser. They really do, and that's unfortunate. I am not one that does, but it's unfortunate that it's like that, and it's unfortunate that they have to work a little bit more efficiently, a little harder to get to where they want and what they want. And
how's that? How's that so? I don't.
You don't think so? You don't think?
No.
See, I mean,
I don't, because you just look at you want to talk about white privilege. Well, what about the privileges the minorities receive? You go to college, they get extra points on their exams. They got slots open to them specifically just so they can have diversity. You see it in fire departments, police departments, emergency services, where they leave these positions, they set these positions aside for minorities. And you see the same thing in other companies, Now,
let me ask you this: is that right?
No, it's not.
Okay.
Why would it be? You want to talk about privilege and special treatment? Well, what about the special treatment you're receiving, right? As a minority, I'm not saying you.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the equality? Where's the fairness?
Yeah,
I feel like the goods through the coming from the people that aren't racist and don't want to be seen that way, and they're going out of their way to demonstrate that they aren't racist. I feel like that goodwill is being abused.
Okay, but I mean, it's kind of leading to, or what I was trying to say is, you take a look at, I feel that the minority has to work a little more difficult because of groups like BLM, and Black Panther, because that just tarnishes the entire, minority. I mean, or, whether it's black people or whomever, it tarnishes them, so people look differently towards them. Oh, they're upset because, they feel that they don't matter in life. Well, okay, we need to look at them differently now. And that's the problem. They're the ones, I believe, they're the people that are going out there and saying, we're different, hey, look at us, we're different. They need to just stop that. If they stop that, and just like you were saying a little bit ago, just be one with the community, work with the community in making things better, I think it would change. But because of those certain groups out there, I feel that it's unfortunate that there are individuals who then have to work harder to get what they want. That make sense?
I understand what you're saying with that point of view, yeah. I mean, I think all groups suffer from extremism. You have well, not extremism, but supremacy, racial supremacy. And, there's white supremacists, there's black supremacists, there's Asian supremacists, Latina supremacists. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And, I think the biggest problem is, that anytime there is an issue that occurs, and I hate to keep going back to the black community, but because of what happened this past week, it's kind of where I'm sickened. Anytime there's something that happens where it's, a white person, unfortunately killing, a black person, everything blows up. And we saw that
a white officer.
Yes, a white officer. This past week, we had, 2 issues where white officers killed black gentlemen. And again, whether it was warranted or not, I personally am not going to get into that right now. I don't have all of the facts. I don't think anybody besides those involved.
You got to let the criminal justice system do its job.
Exactly. I'm not going to say one way or the other if it was right or wrong. or if it was warranted. But what I will say is the protests that took place afterward in the cities around the country was a little ridiculous, and it's a big reason why we're having other problems, especially when you look at Texas. What happened in Dallas this past week, what day was that? Was that Thursday? Was completely absurd. And again, I know that the information that we've gotten since then is that it is not BLM that is responsible, that it was some, it
was they said that the shooter was radicalized by the new Black Panther Party.
Exactly, that it was somebody who wanted to kill white people, who, hates white people.
He said he was upset about Black Lives Matter.
Exactly.
And he wanted to target whites and specifically white officers.
Yes, yeah. And, he took 5 officers' lives because of it. And
so, it's politically motivated.
Yeah.
And in a way, you're using violence to meet your political ends. So, in a way, you're using terrorism to reach your political goals. So, he was a domestic terrorist, and they're just refusing to call it what it is. The guy was a terrorist. He's a domestic terrorist.
Yeah.
Homegrown.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And at this point, what do we do about it? Unfortunately, we have our leaders, our commander-in-chief, who stands there and basically blames police for it, blames guns for it. Is that really the right course to take? Again, I think he's speaking before he has all the information, just like everybody else is.
I feel like it's just political opportunism. That's what I feel he's doing. For
what? What's he gaining out of it? At this point,
he's definitely helping the liberal talking points in politics, especially to achieve gun control, to serve that narrative.
Yeah. And that's the thing.
And he, obviously he's allied with Hillary, and she's very anti-gun. And you see, she's trying to tap into Bernie Sanders' mojo by openly declaring that, all whites are to blame. Whites are the cause of this. The white people are the ones that need to listen. And it's like, wait a minute. We have laws. This is a nation built on laws, not people. If you don't follow the letter of the law, well, then the hammer comes down on you. And obviously, Hillary doesn't follow the law. We've seen this. It's been admitted by the FBI director that she's broken the law. She's broken U.S. Code Title 18,
sorry, I don't
dealing with espionage and dissemination of classified materials. It goes into the subcodes and all that. But it's clearly stated within those laws that, she broke the law.
Yeah.
So she has no moral authority to go around making demands about anything. She's morally corrupt.
She is, and that's a big problem why we have to do everything in our power. Whether you're for Trump or not for Trump, I don't think anybody needs to be for Hillary or should be for Hillary. And we need to make sure we do everything we can to make sure that she isn't voted in to the presidency, because obviously the way that everything has been handled with her and how she obviously appears to be above the law, what kind of mayhem can she or will she cause if she were to be president? That's a big concern. It really is. And, what kind of example is it to everybody else in the country, and not just the country, but the world? So we look like a joke right now to other countries. Other countries are sitting there and saying, look what she did, the proof is right there, and she's just going to walk away, yet you are chasing down Edward Snowden. You caused a general to resign. It's so much has happened in the past that is very similar to what has happened with her, and the people were punished, and she's not. And it's a joke. It really is a joke.
I'm trying to look up the exact law that she broke here. I have it written down here somewhere. Looking for it. Hang in there, people. But I mean, the writing is pretty much on the wall here. I think a lot of people will agree. I mean, there's other people that do need a little more convincing. And I'm more than happy to oblige. And here's the law that she broke is U.S. Code Title 18, Part 1, Section 793, subsection F. And subsection F is whoever being entrusted with or having lawful possession or control of any documenting, code, sketch, photograph, photographic negative, blueprint, plan, map, model, instrument, appliance, note, or information relating to the national defense, one, through gross negligence, permits the same to be removed from its proper place of custody or delivered to anyone in violation of his trust, or to be lost, stolen, abstracted, or destroyed, or two, having knowledge that the same has been illegally removed from its proper place of custody or delivered to anyone in violation of his trust, or lost, or stolen, abstracted, or destroyed, and fails to make prompt report of such loss, theft, abstraction, or destruction to his superior officer, shall be fined under this title or in prison not more than 10 years, or both. And she's done this. She's revealed these articles relating to our national security to people that haven't been cleared, who didn't have the security clearance. Plain and simple. She had them on servers that weren't properly insulated. So anybody really could have walked into her server and took anything. And I think she built it that way. I think it was designed to do that. So she didn't have to send any correspondence to anybody. Any of the people that she was doing her deals with. She had it there on that server. And it was just an open door. You could just come in and get what you want. There's no proof, no evidence that she was speaking with these people. And she went and lied about it. And the FBI director was saying, well, we can't prove intent. And the simple fact that she lied proves that she intended to mislead the courts and the American people. And that shows that she knew that she was guilty and she knew exactly what she was doing. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, she's caught red-handed. And I don't think they should leave it up to the political process. The jury of the people coming onto the ballot box. Are you kidding me? It's like murdering somebody and want to be, I guess, the boss of your company. If everybody likes you, oh yeah, we don't care that you murdered anybody. You can be my boss. Sounds like a good idea to me. We'll let everybody else decide if you're guilty that way. It's like, where are the courts? Where are our servants, public servants to represent the people of this nation, represent the laws and the letter of the law? Where's the justice system?
Who knows? It's progressively gotten worse over the years. We have no representation. We vote these people in, and they don't care what our feelings or thoughts are, because it's all about them. Making sure they protect themselves and what's best for them. And that's just never going to change. At least I don't think it's ever going to change, because it's just the way it's been going for so long now. And I know we've talked about it in the past. I think it was the very first episode of Common Sense Podcast Radio where I said that the best idea would be to give everybody term limits, no matter what. Now that wouldn't exactly help in the case where Hillary is, trying to make her way into the Oval Office, but it may help the representatives of the people to actually represent the people. I would at least hope it would. So, again, it's not going to change, though. And that's, what do you think? How could it be changed? How do you think it could be changed?
How about they just uphold the laws? Just enforce the law.
It's whenever you have so many people that have been sitting there with their own agenda for so long, that's not going to be the case, because you're going to have very different views on everything. For one, I think there's just way too many politicians, to begin with.
Well, that was the whole idea. Separate the houses, the judiciary, legislative, executive. Separate it, or is it the House of Representatives? I don't remember the exact names of the three branches, but it's cut up and designed to parcel out that power, so it's hard for corruption to take root. And it was, it's designed. It's basically like a continuous revolution. Every election cycle, it's just perpetual revolution, and even that's been corrupted now. A lot of people believe that the electronic voting system is corrupt, and they have good reason to believe that.
Well, no, it's possible to corrupt, but no specific voting system is possible without corruption. There's going to be some sort of corruption or some sort of negligence with all of it. So whether it's electronic or, paper and
there's
pen.
No tracking of the votes. I think if you could track your vote, if you place your vote, you should be able to get a paper copy in case something happens to the electronic copy, and there should be a database where you can go into it, and maybe it won't have your ID attached to it,
but have a number.
But you'll have your paper certificate that'll match that, and you'll be able to track it and see if it's being counted correctly.
That's not a terrible idea. Again,
you could even have that corrupted too. I know, I understand that. But there's got to be safeguards in place, and right now, there aren't any. And of course, people argue, oh, well, it'll be too expensive, blah, blah, blah. It's like, would you want there to be accountability or not? So we got to pay up, what? You got to pay an extra penny in taxes for that to happen. Like, how much would it cost? Can't cost that much money.
Not at all.
We're talking about ink and paper. Ink and paper, guys. and of course you're going to have your initial fee of, designing the system and all that. But I'm pretty sure if we could buy $300,000 missiles to go bomb some assholes in huts, we can afford to upgrade our election system, right? It's like, fuck, where's common sense? People, it's always arguing and coming up with some excuse of why we can't do this and why we can't do that. And everybody just has this sense of being defeated, and everybody's downtrodden like there's some beaten peasants. Like, we're a proud country. We fought and bled, and we beat back a goddamn most powerful empire in the world, so we could, plow our fields and feed our families and bake bread and do, I don't know, whatever the colonial people did. Shit, I don't know. And then look at what it turned into. The light, the beacon of liberty in the world. And we're gonna get pushed over like that? Like, America, come on, get some goddamn balls. Grow your fucking balls. Kick this PC bullshit to the side and fucking stand up for yourselves. What the fuck is wrong with you people? Holy shit.
Yeah.
You're gonna go, I know Ryan was here, or he was supposed to be here for this podcast, but the Ryan Thomas special, stop being a goddamn cuck. Got to throw the cuck out there.
Got to throw the cuck out there. Yeah, it's true. I mean, people need to just chill and just stop. Don't try to better yourself. That's the biggest problem. Everybody is just out for number one. And while, yes, I understand that thought process, and you want to make sure that you're
everybody's impoverished, and they're fighting for a couple of bucks, working these shitty jobs because we allowed our country to get gutted through these shitty trade deals that have been signed in secret by none other than Bill frickin' Clinton. Well, these dudes, like the Clintons and the Bushes, and the Bush-Clinton surrogate Obama. That's how many years? That's like 30 years of them whittling away at our manufacturing base. That's like our internal organs. If our country was an organism, it was an animal or a being. It's basically cut our country's organs out and sold them off to the world. Is what they did. So now we gotta restore ourselves. We gotta restore our country. We gotta get our industry going. Like, how many towns and cities have crumbled and failed because they were hauled out because all the industry that they were built around were shipped overseas, so they can go in and enslave those poor suckers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you want to sit there and talk about human rights and all this and that and all the privileges and this and that in our country. Well, what about those people over there working for slave labor wages, right? What about their rights? I mean, if you're going to come over here and bitch about civil liberties and this and that, why don't you go and take that fight over to the people that really need it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to change, though. That's the problem. And I mean, you could sit here and say, people could be yelling at their computer phone right now, if you don't like America so much, then why are you here? Why not just leave? And I get it. I understand where you're coming from and yelling at it. But, I mean, unfortunately, in my case, I love this country. I believe that we can be better. I believe that we should be better.
Yeah, I'm not saying if you don't like it, get out. I'm not saying that at all. But, I'm saying why don't you start standing up for what's right instead of buying all these products that are made in sweatshops?
Yeah.
Why don't you fight for products that are made by free people? Instead of supporting the slave labor in these other countries, why don't you want to buy goods from workers that are well regulated, right?
Yeah.
You have good homes and everything. That's what's right in the world. It's like we're fighting to go back to slavery. It's insane. When you think about it, it's basically what people are fighting for. Like the other side, oh, well, they have the right to have jobs too. But it's like, look at the condition they're in. Look at how these people are working. Look, where are the child labor laws? They have no pollution controls. They're just dumping chemicals in the rivers. They're just filling the air up with all this smog, all these pollutants. And then we're getting products with lead paint, like, and dog food and antifreeze in it. What the fuck is going on here? This is globalism? This is what we're doing? This is what we're fighting for? This kind of globalism? This is some shitty fucking globalism. There's no regulation. There's no law. I think it's bad. It's bad. It's definitely bad.
Yeah. Definitely not good.
You figure the standard that we put in place for our country, I think we should apply that to the rest of the world. If you don't have these standards in your nation, we can't do business with you. Plain and simple. You want to do business with America? You get your rights and you get everything regulated correctly. And you make your workplaces safe, and then we'll do business with you.
I mean, that's not a bad idea, and I know that there are some regulations and rules that America tries to abide by when it comes to that kind of stuff, but they leave it more up to the consumer to investigate themselves, for themselves, and find out what it's like. Rachel, who joins us on our podcast,
yes, libertarianism.
But no, really, Rachel, from the one who is on here from time to time on our different podcasts, the makeup she buys, she has and does research, and she's not the only girl that I've ever seen do this, but she researches to see if they've ever been tested on animals. I mean, is that it's not as extreme as what you're saying, I guess, and maybe in some people's eyes it is, but don't you think that's something that America should be already looking at and saying, look, if you're going to harm animals, then we don't want anything to do with that product. It's kind of what you're saying, and I can see that. Should America be that involved? Should our government be that involved with that, or should it just be up to the consumer? That's the big question. I think consumers and citizens already feel that the government's too involved with everything else, so that would just be one more thing they're involved in, and basically it would be the government involved in saying, hey, this is what we believe is good for you.
People when they go shopping, all they're looking at is the price tag.
Not everybody. Like I said,
That's why Walmart is so successful, and all the Main Street businesses went out of business.
All the mom and pops.
Not there. Yeah, all the mom and pops. Yeah. Main Street America done because of cheap Chinese goods.
That's true. It's true. Again, but there are a good number of people out there who worry about how something is made or where it's made. Not as many as there probably should be. I'll admit I'm one of them. I mean, I shop at Walmart probably once or twice a week.
And they don't build things to last either.
It's convenient. Oh, and that's very true. Christ, when I was a kid, we got there was a TV my mom got. It was a Zenith TV. My mom and dad got before I was even born, and that thing lasted a good 20 years.
Floor model.
Probably about 20 years. and yeah. TVs now, you're lucky to get 4 or 5 years out of them.
Yeah.
So I agree. Things aren't.
You're lucky if it even works correctly before you pull it out of the box.
Yes, very true. Very true.
My brother had one of those RCA. RCA doesn't even make televisions anymore. They license their name out.
Oh.
So some Chinese factory can slap RCA on their screen, and basically My brother got one of these televisions, and he had to ship it out 5 times, like 4 or 5 times, to get it to work right. I mean, it didn't cost him anything, but it's like you expect, a certain level of quality when you're spending, a couple $100. You're spending like 2 weeks worth of your paycheck on a television, saving up or whatever you got your tax return.
Yeah, it's true. But again, the big problem with things like that, with quality, is just the mass production, not so much where it's made and where it's built. I know some people sit there and say, oh, things built in Japan are cheaper than it, or not cheaper, but are less reliable than things built in America. That may not be true. It's just how things are mass
Well, it might
produced.
be because nothing's made in America anymore. So by default, then yeah.
Oh man, I don't know. I think that's a big issue that our politicians need to look at, is bringing production back to America, making it worthwhile for these companies. Unfortunately, it's not worthwhile for these companies to produce in America. It costs more money to do it here than sending it overseas. So that's something that our politicians that are supposed to represent us and our voice need to really look at fixing. And it's, again, just like everything else, you can sit here and if you really think and look at it, it's probably not going to change, especially...
for all the listeners out there, you have your election season, and you get your one vote, right, for your politician. But every day, when you go shopping, you're voting. Your dollar is a vote. And every time you put that dollar down and you buy these goods, you're voting in favor of those goods. So you do have control over the markets.
Yeah.
So stop voting for these products.
But it's tough, like you said, especially with how America is and how the middle class is shrinking, and a good portion of them are moving down into the poor area where they're unable to afford
no doubt.
the better products, and that's the biggest problem. You go to Walmart,
that's the ultra rich. You can get into the idea that they want to create the wealth gap. They want the wealthy owners, and then they want the poor slave labor that they can bully around and control and brutalize with the police force.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like some Orwellian nightmare, and it's coming into into reality. It's being realized, and everybody just keeps eating this shitty food, and they can't think clearly because of what's in the food, and everybody's diabetic, having heart problems and liver problems, and the brain chemistry's not right, and we're looking at these television screens that have that emit light at a certain frequency, and it puts you into a trance, and you're getting brainwashed with the television. And you see it in music, and you're using tones to affect your mood. We gotta unplug. We gotta tune out.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, this isn't just like some regular bullshit. I mean, this is scientifically proven. You look it up. You gotta do your research, right? Go it. Just look into this stuff, guys. This isn't even
the problem is
that good of a science fiction story, really.
People are too afraid, or not too afraid, or just too lazy to do the work. You just mentioned in one of your examples there about the foods and people just getting so fat and because it's just
and I'm
easier.
No perfect example because I'm overweight too.
Oh yeah,
I'm badass.
Neither am I.
I love my food. I love my meat and potatoes, no doubt.
But the entire country has been bamboozled by all of this. I mean, there's a documentary that came out, I want to say maybe about 2 years ago. Let me see really quick here. It's called Fed Up. And it's about the obesity epidemic in the country. And I'm not going to get into that whole subject, but...
That's high fructose corn syrup.
Exactly. That is
put that in everything.
And our politicians, and not even our politicians, we take a look at the leader of the free world's wife, Michelle. She came into being the first lady, and her first act was, this get up and go movement of getting people outside and moving and
first cross-dresser.
And she really tried to push people to get out and exercise when that is not the problem. That's not the problem. And again, there's money to be had in that industry. And
do you think that's like the very least you could do as the first lady? Exercise, guys.
Go exercise. Woohoo. And it's funny because,
watch me shake my bulge on Ellen.
Pokemon Go comes out 3 days ago and gets more people to go out and exercise than she did in 8 years. So
I think that's awesome. People are getting out and chasing Pokemon.
But, I mean, again, I didn't want to get completely off topic there, but it is a great documentary if you haven't watched it. I know I saw it on Netflix about maybe a year and a half ago. Excellent documentary, and it really made me rethink my life and how I eat. And another person that really watched that and actually turned me to it was podcaster director Kevin Smith. He watched it. I heard a podcast where he talked about it. He then listened to the video, the documentary, and took sugar completely out of his diet. And within 6 months, he lost 60, 70 pounds, something like that. It's
very easy. And just think about, just like you're drinking soda. Or pop, whatever we want to call it.
Yeah.
And you look at the amount of calories, and you figure how much pop do you drink in a day, and how many of those calories would you eliminate if you just decided to drink water instead?
And I did that about 9 months ago. No, maybe about 9 months ago. I took pop out of my diet completely. I just cut it cold turkey, and within 1 month I lost 10 pounds. 10 pounds in 1 month just cutting out pop. Yeah. It's absurd.
Your kidneys and your liver and everything is probably a lot happier.
Oh, absolutely. And again, I mean, I did that for about 5 or 6 months where I drank no pop, and now every once in a while I'll have one. Maybe one a week, one every week.
And then they put all that sodium in the pop too.
Yeah.
And then they hide it with the sweetness of the high fructose corn syrup and sugar. And that wreaks havoc on your circulatory system. High blood pressure and all that. Heart disease.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big problem in this country, and again, hopefully it's something that'll get taken care of. We kind of got off subject of what we were talking about, but...
it's all connected, man.
Instead of going back to the dark and depressing stuff that we've just been talking about, I want to get into a couple...
You got something light for us?
I got a couple stories here that are pretty humorous.
You want them to go away angry and able to remember all the horrible things.
Yeah, maybe we should start the shows with the funny and then lead into the dark and depressing.
So they'll go and like, hey, yeah, man, this shit does suck. Maybe we should do something about it instead of being fucking entertained all the damn time.
Yeah. Well, hopefully people remember
the opiate of the masses, right? It's entertainment.
Yeah. Yeah. But this story here is, I think, too funny to let slide by. I'm sure some people have already heard about this. I think Conan O'Brien even made a joke about it on one of his shows, but it was pretty funny. The headline, and I'm not going to bury the lead here, the headline was, "Woman Jailed After Pleading Guilty in Loud Sex Case."
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
A Pennsylvania woman has pleaded guilty to disorderly conduct for having sex so loudly it shook her neighbor's furniture. Then she threatened her row house neighbors for complaining. Her name is Amanda Marie Orfel. She's 25 years old.
She hot?
and she was jailed since March 22nd. I actually did not see a picture of her. Now, this news is coming
She's a screamer.
This news is coming from abcnews.go.com, and it says that the woman pled guilty Wednesday and was sentenced to 45 to 90 days in jail, which she already served but remained in jail for another case. She said during the hearing that she just wanted to go home and regretted her neighbors weren't in court because she wanted to apologize to them. She had...
Was it like intimidation or something? What's she really charged with?
Again, the article I'm reading doesn't really say...
You know that headline's bullshit. You can't get charged for having loud sex.
Probably for the threats she made. It also does say that she had other disorderly conduct, harassment charges on her. So there's obviously...
Well, yeah, but then again, there's disturbing the peace, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
maybe they're just jealous they ain't having loud sex.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I've been walking down the street before and I hear people having sex.
Me with having some loud sex.
I tell you what, I'm like, hey, go at it, guys, have a blast. I don't care.
Or maybe just stuck a sock in her mouth.
I lived in a small apartment one time where you could hear everything going on, and you hear them. I mean, you hear it. It is what it is. It's life. I wouldn't get upset about it. Now, obviously, my house and my furniture and belongings didn't shake.
That's some Gorilla Glue.
But, yeah, a little ridiculous if you ask me. And then one other story. Again, I kind of staying on the sex theme here.
Man,
the headline
totally gonna forget everything we just talked about.
Man performs sex act in middle of busy road.
What were we talking about?
After getting,
I don't remember.
We'll cut back to that.
No, it's fine. We'll just wind this next one up here, I guess.
Man performs sex act in middle of busy road after getting run over. And this comes from mir.co.uk. A man is facing trial after allegedly performing a sex act in the middle of a road surrounded by busy traffic after he got run over. I cannot say this guy's name. Bohel El Barhumi. I don't know. He's 43 years old. Was crossing at a junction.
Despite like Pakistani or something.
Despite the signal being red, he was clipped by a car, causing him to fall over. The vehicle drove off, and the gentleman got up, threw his watch at another car. So he took his watch off for some reason and threw it at a car, kicked the car, and assaulted the driver. During the incident, or that's what he did during the incident. He then exposed himself and performed a sex act in the direction of the female passenger while calling out obscene phrases. The police arrived and arrested him, and he reportedly made rude gestures at motorists and simulated further sex acts before wrapping his leg around one officer and headbutting him. He denied criminal damage and 2 counts of assault and outraging public decency and will stand trial in October. What is wrong with people?
Oh, man.
I mean, honestly.
I don't know. I don't get it.
Just ridiculous, really, is all it is. I mean, come on. Like, really? There has to be something mentally wrong with that guy. I mean, he gets hit by somebody, the car drives away, and then he goes and assaults somebody else and whips out his thing and just starts, what I'm guessing is jacking off. I mean, I don't know what other sex acts he's
I imagine with the way that guy was acting, he probably dove at the vehicle.
Who knows?
You know, probably jumped on their hood and the person drove off. And he's sitting there, you know, harassing all the other motorists. Jesus Christ.
I don't know. But
pray for these people. I don't know.
But definitely, you know, what we just talked about today, a lot of the different things when it comes to the way our country's being run, how you vote, not just with your vote on election day, but with how you spend your money. You know, obviously take a look at, and please do your research on everything that's going on in the world. Don't just sit there and be fed what the mainstream media is feeding you. And don't even be fed what we're telling you. Definitely go out and do your own research and learn these things. Don't sit back and say, you know what, because this person is saying it, they must be right, or because this one's saying it, they must be right. Do your research.
At least get 3 independent sources to verify whatever. And if they're not verifying, just read them and figure it out for yourself.
Yeah, it's important. And again, you'll probably hear us say this multiple times between now and November, but this upcoming election in November is probably one of the most important that this country has ever had. So please, please, please do your research on everything coming up. Again, you probably can tell where I stand, where Brian stands within this election, but don't take it from us. Do your own research and learn what is going on in this country and in the world before you make a decision like that. And then, obviously, please go and vote. That's very important. But if you enjoyed what you heard today with everything, definitely follow us on Twitter as well as on Facebook. You can simply search for @CS Podcast Radio on either site. You'll be able to find our Facebook page by doing that, or you can follow us on Twitter. We're always interested in listener feedback, whether it's comments, suggestions, or even questions. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us.
I'm open to hate mail too.
And we may just read some of it on our next.
Well, if you got some hate mail, we'll read it.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, we're up for any kind of criticism. We want to make this a light show, but these past few weeks have been kind of
sign of the times.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to make sure I threw in a couple light stories there, because it can be very dark and depressing at times. So we want to make sure that it's light, and maybe the hate mail will be just the humor we need.
Send us your hate mail. Is it me, or do I just really want a lot of hate mail?
You can also email us. You can also email us at cspodcastradio@gmail.com. So definitely hit us up on there as well if Twitter and Facebook aren't your thing. And then obviously for you podcast listeners, we are available on iTunes and any Android, well, I don't know if it's any, but other Android podcast apps. If iTunes and podcasting is not your thing, you can find us on YouTube by searching for Comments and Podcast Radio on YouTube. There you might find some additional videos of different things from our different shows as well. You can reach me at @rslavinsky on Twitter. And Brian, what's your Twitter handle?
It's @Brian_KPLE.
Yeah, but I have nothing else. You got anything else, Brian?
Nah, bon voyage.
Alright, take it easy, guys.